Hi, happy Thursday, and welcome to our weekly Thrive Live. And it is definitely turning into fall and winter right now in California. My fingers are numb. It is cold. I I'm procrastinating because I'm going to talk about a topic that I don't know. I think it's just kind of like a hot button, and I guess the only way we can get into it is to kind of dive in, right? We are talking about ways to control your anger this week. And it's amazing because with everything going on in our society and our culture right now, it's kind of important to see that we have so much more power over ourselves and how we react to other people than we give ourselves credit for. And anger is one of those. It's okay. You know what? I'm not gonna hold back. I think I am afraid that I'm going to say the wrong thing and make someone angry, and that's not going to do any of us any good. So I say this from a place of love. I say this because I have walked this path, and it was eye opening. And it actually started from a parenting book, and I cannot remember which parenting book it is, you guys. I am so sorry. I've been trying to think about it all week, and I can't remember it. But they were saying that when we lose our temper with our children, that is triggered internally, not so much that our children are being wild and crazy. Yeah, I will say that there are times where kids are just wild and crazy and I lose my cool. I was actually talking about it with my nanny and how we were joking because, like, I do yell at my kids sometimes, and she was saying, no, but it's appropriate. Like, you yell when they're just full on not listening. And so there's a difference of learning how to express yourself in a healthy way, especially when you're dealing with children, because Um, so there's a way of learning how to express yourself out of love and compassion, and there's also a way that you express yourself based off of a trigger. And what the book pointed out would say, and I'm taking it to the simplest forms, but this works for everything. Um, that if you find that your two children are fighting and you are, I think the story, like, I think I actually noticed it like while my kids were taking a bath, so I'll just use the story that I had, was that my boys were fighting, and it triggered me to yell at them because I remembered what it felt like to fight with my little brother when we were taking a bath when we were like super little, and that it just was a really kind of like empowering, or not empowering, like unempowering, I guess would be the opposite word. Like, it was just kind of a crappy feeling. And I was watching my boys fight, and I felt for the one that was being picked on and felt like, oh, this was crappy. And so that little girl emotion totally got triggered, being like, oh, you're like, basically, that little girl that was feeling crappy kind of came out and was like, this isn't fair. And so I yelled at the big kid because I was trying to parent, but I was parenting based off of a fear based trigger. And the opposite can happen too for something that happens in the future. So you could lose your temper about something because you're afraid. Your trigger is that you're fearful of what could possibly happen in the future. So instead of staying present in the moment and using it as a teaching experience, we're not saying that, you have to control your temper to be walked on. We want healthy boundaries. Those are important. But healthy boundaries leading from a place of love allows you to help your children, your team, yourself, your friends grow because it comes from a place of love and not from a place of fear and anxiety. So that's the difference. And so when you react in a way that you are not happy with, or when you react at all, let's say you get into a fight, there are ways you can control your temper. There are ways you can control your anger. And it's learning how to heal your emotional triggers. And the best way to do that is when you're in the moment, or not in the moment, because when you're in the moment, lizard brain takes over, you're seeing red, Totally get that. But when you walk away, how often do you walk away and be like, God, that other person just didn't get it. It's all their fault. Like, if that's the narrative that you're having, that does you no good. How do you fix that? You can't change the other person. You can't control the other person. You have control over yourself. So taking a pause, and if you get into a fight with someone, taking a pause and asking these 3 extremely valuable questions will help you not only start to control your temper, but start to heal those wounds so that you can finally blossom into the person that you are truly meant to be. I found a quote from Brene Brown a few years ago. I love her. You hear me mention her all the time. If you haven't read her books, take a look into them. They are fabulous. And she talks about a quote. I'm going to read it directly. It says, "Don't shrink down and don't puff up. Just stand your sacred ground." And that's the goal that we are looking for, is that you don't shrink and you don't puff, but you stand your sacred ground and you are able to communicate out of love and control, and not control in a bad way, but control out of love. So when you find yourself losing control of your emotions, after you calm down, when you come back, I want you to ask yourself 3 questions. Number 1, what was it that you were thinking about when you lost your temper? Such a simple question. What was it you were thinking about when you lost your temper? In my scenario where I said I started to yell at the kids while they were in the bathroom, they were fighting, is I literally had a flashback to when I was a kid. And that stinks. Is there another time where I'm gonna stick with the kids. It's easy for me. I think it's because we're home so much right now. That's kind of like who I'm all around. But like the boys were fighting, and I had a fear that if I couldn't control the way that they fought and communicated and talked to each other, that they're gonna hate each other down their life. And so that scared me. And I don't know. I froze for a second. And I reacted out of fear. And so those are 2 extremes where it's like it either triggers from the past or it goes to the future. Neither one are helping me in the situation calmly take care of what the boys need, which is a calm, compassionate parent to guide them into healthy communication. That's why learning what is triggering you so that you can start to heal those emotions, to find out what it is that is making you go there and to start to heal it, is going to be the most powerful thing that you can do in learning how to control your emotions. Number 2 is, I have notes I highlighted, that way I could stay on focus, right? What can you do to calm down? So in this, what better time to think about this and learn about it than after the fact? Because if you don't come up with a plan and you don't practice it while you're calm, it's never going to start happening when you're in the midst of losing your temper. So I love taking, if I get into an argument, if I lose my temper, it's total a lesson learned. The military does it after a mission. I do it after a fight. What can I say? So after a fight, I sit down and I say, okay, what is it that triggered myself? Was it something from my past? Was it something from the future? Was it something that I'm still healing on the inside? And I really try to narrow that down, because that's the only way you can grow and move forward. The next thing is we have to learn how we can control our anger while we're in that moment. Is it counting backwards? Is it breathing? Is it saying a mantra? Is it taking a break but making sure you come back? All of those are extremely helpful of when you're in a situation, you can be like, okay, this was my plan on how I'm going to control my anger. So as you do your lesson learn after you lose your temper, come up with a plan on how you're going to calm down next time. And practice it over and over again. Are you going to use a mantra? Anytime you start to feel that kind of anger go, start to say your mantra. You're starting to feel anxiety while you're sitting in traffic. Breathe. Use those breath techniques that you're going to practice. So it's like a muscle. The more you practice, the better you're going to be able to do it when you're in the actual situation. So you're going to come up with a plan now, and you're going to practice. So when you're needing to use it, when you're about to lose your temper, You have your calming techniques. And then the third most important thing is what can you do next time to change it? So once again, we're in our lesson learned. We're looking at what triggered us and we're starting to go down the road of healing those triggers. We're finding a way to keep ourselves calm. And now we're really kind of digging in deeper. How is it that you could have changed? How is it that you could have approached the situation different? Could you have listened? Could you have asked questions? Could you have taken a deep breath, calm, to be able to come at it without being defensive or loud or don't puff, don't shrink? So what is it? Own you. Own what you can control and play it out how you would have done it differently so that you're ready to try those steps the next time they come around. Within this question, you also kind of want to say, did you trigger the other person? Because they have their own triggers as well. They have their own scars from the past, their own fears and anxieties from the future that they too are working through. So was the conversation maybe a trigger for them? Because if you can identify what that trigger is, it's going to allow you to approach them in a more compassionate, loving way. And that's really key here. You want to make sure you own your stuff within an argument when you lose your temper, but it's also important that the pendulum doesn't swing all the way, that you're not fully blaming the other person, that you're not fully taking the blame on yourself. You need to find the balance. So you own what you contribute, and you need to let them own what they contributed. Whether it's they lost their temper and they need to heal their own wounds, whether, let them figure that out. But kind of looking into it allows you to come to them in a more empathetic way. The minute that you can move from being the victim, you start to become your own hero. And that is the gift that I want you to find within yourself, is that you have control over yourself. And once you realize that you have control over yourself, you start to realize the magic of the things that you're able to change for the better. That was today's talking point. How to control your anger. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Leave a comment below. If you have techniques that you have found that work really well to calm you down, I would love to hear them. Yeah, let's chat. You can either send me a DM, leave a comment below for everyone. I would love to know what are ways that you control your anger. Next week, we are talking about self-care and how self-care is not selfish. I have a 31-point winter checklist that is ready to go for especially busy moms. I definitely made sure that it was things you can kind of do either in 30 minutes or less, or feed your family with, because cooking dinner can be therapeutic and calm, especially if it's making soup. So join me next week at 12:30. And I will also be announcing some big news coming up. I have spent the week working on something for you guys, and I'm really, really excited about it. It has, you know what, I'm going to leave you waiting and anticipating for this cliffhanger because it is so good. I will tell you a little bit more about it next week. So I will see you next Thursday at 12:30. We are going to talk about how to find time for self-care for yourself, especially right now in the busy holiday seasons. Bye, my beautiful friends. Love ya. Talk to you soon.